All right, folks, this week we are at Portugal. And not much to say about the race or the history of races here because this is a new track to the game and a new track to the league. But nonetheless, it will be interesting to see the risk reward that drivers will have to weigh in their minds every lap. How hard do they push? The harder you push, obviously, make up more time on the car ahead, but at the same time, you will be increasing the chances of making a mistake and spinning out in the very difficult traction zones of Sector 2 and 3. So it will be an interesting race to watch and kind of see how things play out. Is this going to be more of a calm track on the TFR circuit, or is it going to be a wild one like the season finale last season? So let's get right into it. Down into the first corner here, brake mounting the outside curb here to maximize track width. And a theme that you're going to hear me say a lot here is take the low part of the inside curb, not the sausage. You're going to hear it here. You're going to hear it in the next braking zone. You're going to hear it a lot. So, hell, make a drinking game out of it if you want. You can carry more speed through here than you think because you don't have to brake as much as the game makes it seem if you have the racing line on. And feel free to take the curb on the outside as there is plenty of grip there. You want to really make sure that you're maximizing this corner on low fuel runs. But during the race, like I always say, don't be a hero going for a couple extra tenths and risking getting a penalty because those couple extra tenths are not really going to add up to the 3 seconds that you get for penalties, especially if there's a late safety car. And coming into the next braking zone, like I said, mount the curb on the outside, plenty of grip there. Brake just a touch before the racing line recommends, so you can, again, take a drink. Take the low part of the curb, but not the sausage curb. You don't want to take all the width on the exit, though, because you want to be able to pull over to the right and get ready for the left-hander coming up immediately after, which is the first of our very difficult traction zones on this track. And coming up to this corner, it's just a leave off of the gas. I avoid the curb on the inside because the curb is slightly cambered. And more camber on the car and a tricky traction zone coming over the crest of a hill is the last thing you want when traction's already as difficult as it is. Alright, at the end of this DRS straight, you can brake pretty much right where the game recommends. And this corner is all about getting that speed you carry through the corner correct. Don't carry enough speed through, you're obviously going to lose time at the apex and in the braking zone here. Carry too much speed, and you're going to be forced to get on the power on the exit curb, which will lose you a tiny bit of time heading down the straight to the next corner. Also, I avoid the curb on the inside as well because it is slightly cambered. Alright, in this corner, it is one of those corners that you take very differently in terms of race pace and qualifying pace. Qualifying, it will just be a leave off of the throttle. In the race, it's going to be an actual corner you're going to have to hit the brakes for. And again, take a drink because you want to take the inside of this curb here, but you want to miss the sausage curb and allow the car to roll out to the exit curb because you will be mounting the outside curb when you brake for the next corner that comes immediately after. I missed the apex there. You guys did not see that at all. And for this corner, you want to brake pretty much right on racing line. You could brake a little bit after as well because you can take a late apex here because the last thing you want to do is take an early apex because that will really unsettle the car. And this corner, I would say, is the worst traction zone in the entire game. It's very difficult here. If you feel like you're not slow through here, then that means you're probably carrying too much speed through and you're about to spin out. Everything is difficult here. Taking the corner, it's easy to spin out. If you use too much steering angle on the exit, getting on the throttle, it's so easy to drop it. Getting on the throttle, you just got to be very careful in this corner. Alright, this double right-hander here kind of reminds me of the double left-hander at the end of Sector 2 in Circuit of the Americas. not particularly difficult corner, but because it has a weird shape to it, it can be difficult to kind of find your braking point and turning point. But for me, I start braking about half a car length before racing line recommends. Then it's all about feel of getting that turning point in because drink again, take the inside curb but miss the sausage curb. You can take the curb on the exit, plenty of traction out there, but even though it's not near as bad as the uphill right-hander, this downhill over the crest right-hander is still a little bit tricky getting on the throttle. So make sure you're not jamming onto the throttle and you're being nice and smooth on your application. Also, to me, maybe not everyone else, but to me it's very easy when you're learning this track to carry too much speed through this corner. All right, when you take that left-hander there at full throttle, let the car wash out into this curb here because not only do you maximize track width, but you'll be mounting this curb for the braking zone here, which you can take maybe a little bit, tiny bit later than you would expect or the game recommends. And again, drink again. Take the inside curb, but miss the sausage curb. That theme, as you can see, is carrying over a lot here. But this will be the last time you do it, so I hope you finish that drink. You can carry a little bit more speed through here than you would anticipate, as there's plenty of grip coming around this corner, unlike a lot of the corners that you've done so far this lap. You just want to make sure you don't overcommit to this corner and not have the car settled to set yourself up for the final braking point of the lap. And for this final braking point, I'm going to brake a little bit more than the game recommends here. Or I shouldn't say that. I should say I want to brake a little bit earlier and carry a little bit more speed in than the game recommends. You don't even want to clip the apex here. You don't want to hit the curb on the inside too much because even though it's only a slight difference, there is a slightly less grip there. And this final corner is all about traction. You can be super aggressive getting to the throttle and maybe get to the throttle or maybe even a quarter of a second earlier than someone else and still be slower than them because of wheel spin. You want very little wheel spin coming through here, even less than you would really anticipate you should have. Smooth really is fast around this corner, carry a lot of speed through it. Smooth on the power on the exit. You can take the exit curb, but kind of miss the inside curb. It's a little bit of camber, and it'll make the rear end slide out more than it needs to, which will slow you down getting onto the power. And to end the lap, if you're on qualifying run, hug it to the inside, saves a tiny bit of time. And yeah, it's a nice basic lap of Portugal. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers weigh that risk reward lap to lap. Maybe they'll be aggressive in qualifying, tone it down a little bit in the race, or maybe there'll be instances in the race where they really make aggressive pushes to, maybe undercut someone if they're having difficulty overtaking, or close gaps if the race kind of stabilizes. I'm sure there'll be some mistakes being made, maybe possibly a safety car, but, only time will tell how that will shape up the race. So I guess we'll see you on Friday, and I'll see you guys then.